Agriculture is crucial to the Nigerian economy, and that is why it is part of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, which is food security. In support of this agenda, the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, NASENI, in partnership with Machine and Equipment Corporation Africa, MECA, launched the Asset Restoration Project, where 375 tractors were refurbished by the agency. I am your host, Margaret Ogbo Imaji, and with me is my co-host,
Al-Hassan Muhammad Nasser.
We have with us in the studio today Engineer Muhammed Yadudu. Engineer Yadudu is the Project Coordinator, Asset Restoration Program for NASENI. You're welcome and thanks for joining us today on the program, sir.
Thank you for having me, Margaret.
We also have with us in the studio today Dr. Iliyasu B, Gashinbaki. Dr. Buba is the Managing Director, Machine and Equipment Corporation Africa, MECA. Thanks for joining us today on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Engineer Yadudu, you have led the Asset Restoration Program for NASENI. Can you tell us how that experience went and what necessitated it?
Yes, Margaret, so thank you again for having me. Like you mentioned, I'm the coordinator for the Asset Restoration Project, and with me here is the MD for MECA, who are key technical partners of ours. But going back to answer your question, basically how it came about, it started in early 2023 as a direct response to a troubling national issue, where we saw hundreds of thousands of national assets such as tractors, heavy machinery, health care equipment, and what have you, laying fallow without any structured system to bring them back to life. And these are assets that actually support critical sectors of the economy, such as agriculture, healthcare, power, and education. So NASENI, under the visionary leadership of the EVC, conceived this idea on how can we come in and revive these assets, bring them back to life, bring them back to their original working condition, so as to further the value chain of the economy using those assets. So basically, that's the main idea behind the Asset Restoration Program.
That's a good one. Doc.
Yeah.
Dr. Iliyasu Buba Gashinbaki.
Yes.
Sir, you've been so instrumental in restoring these tractors, about 375 tractors.
Yes.
What processes did you deploy to ensure that this restored asset, quote unquote,
Yes.
met the modern standard?
Okay. Before answering your question, let me use this opportunity to extend my sincere appreciation to the EVC for providing the leadership, the resources, and driving the vision of the entire NASENI mandate, which of course the Asset Restoration Program is just a tiny component of all of that in the grand scheme of things. And of course here, with me, Yadudu presided over the entire project as the coordinator of the Asset Restoration Project. A big thanks to you for all that you have done to ensure that this project was delivered. The processes deployed were the basic reverse engineering processes that covers the mechanical restoration, the electrical restoration, the undercarriage, and of course bodywork and upholstery, because it was an end-to-end restoration. Nothing was left out. Remember, these assets were, in the first instance, were already in a very, very bad condition. In addition to that, to the dilapidated state, we also had a situation where the recent flood, if you remember very well, in Maiduguri, all the tractors were submerged. So the task entails end-to-end restoration of the assets. Well, I would say that, again, the commendation still goes to the EVC for expanding that mandate of NASENI of handshake with the private sector. This project entails this is one of the shining examples of public-private partnership, where the private sector partners with the public sector to deliver efficiency. So in this case, we will say MECA is so lucky as one of the companies that NASENI not just partner with, but NASENI is part and parcel of MECA. NASENI sits on the board of MECA and is also a part owner of MECA as an entity. And therefore, we have a marriage that is enduring. And of course, that makes transfer of technology, sharing of skills, training and retraining seamless across both NASENI and MECA. So it's easy to transpose, share resources, skills, and ideas. So for us, I think we wouldn't have wished for a better partner than NASENI for a project of this scale. Yeah.
Okay, Yadudu, let me come back to you.
Yes.
Tractor recovery is just a subset of the National Asset Restoration Project. Now, recently about 375 tractors were republished in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. What were your key challenges and how do you overcome them?
So thank you, very interesting question, and I think Dr. Gashinbaki touched on the surface of it, but maybe just to go a bit deeper, you can imagine having multiple tractors in excess of 700. We only serviced 375, but they have tractors in excess of 700. And again, going back to the reverse engineering principle, there's a selection phase, which is almost step 4 or 5. So it's not every tractor that gets restored, because if we do that, we'll be losing manpower, resource, time, and energy, right? Only to find out that we are not able to restore something. But then, in this particular case, there's an issue of uniformity. These tractors are of different make, model, year, and what have you. And secondly, majority of them, if you remember, were bought by 2 or 3 administrations before now. So some of them have been sitting idle for close to 20 years, 15 to 20 years. Now, to add that, going back to what Dr. Gashinbaki said, there's the issue of the flooding that came. The entire space where they are parked was submerged underwater. So you can imagine the amount of technical challenges that maybe on the surface we wouldn't even realize. We would only get to realize that once we start the restoration process. So we heavily relied on the reverse engineering principles, which gave us a structured way on how we're going to basically, first and foremost, look at the historical evidence of these tractors, and then do a diagnostic on these tractors, then select the ones that are serviceable before we actually get into the servicing. So really, I'll commend MECA, our technical partners.
So were these idle tractors beyond repairs at the time that you started the project?
Well, I wouldn't say beyond repair. Some of them, again, so we had to select the ones that are serviceable. Not all of them are serviceable. There are ones that we wouldn't even touch because it doesn't make financial or technical sense to touch those tractors, right? So again, that goes back to the reverse engineering principle. We have to go through a structured principle to identify which ones are serviceable and which ones are not. Now, it is through that principle that we selected the ones that are in line, the ones that are actually repairable, and those are the ones that we ended up repairing.
Can you take us through the process of this reverse engineering initiative that you did, like the stages? Absolutely.
It's an 11-step engineering principle, and it starts with historical record, right? Try to establish the historical record of a particular asset. I understand the history of that asset and then do a deep dive, a diagnostic on that particular asset. Now, after doing that, you look at the technical component of that asset, and that's what's going to lead you to the selection process. So after selection, we then have to go through a phase of technical precision where we have our technical experts come in, review the asset, and then undertake that particular restoration. And then lastly is testing. Definitely, testing is the big phase. It has to go through rigorous testing to make sure everything is well and functioning well.
Okay, so talking about asset restoration, how would you assess the cost efficiency of this initiative compared to full replacement?
We have what we call the risk acceptance criteria. So which means, just like Dr. Yadudu mentioned, there are some of the assets that we feel that, no asset, let me be very clear. There is no any mechanical asset that is beyond recovery. But for this project, because we want to be cost efficient, we've decided to say our risk acceptance criteria will be within the band of 15 to 25% of the replacement costs. Just imagine that with that maximum of 25% of that resources to NASENI, we'll have them recovered.
Okay, Engineer Yadudu. Yeah. According to a survey by your team, I guess, your team had recently did a survey on the broken down tractors in Nigeria, and according to your survey, we have about 47,000 broken down tractors. How do you intend to scale this up beyond just Borno State?
The way we plan to scale this particular project up, particularly in the tractor restoration phase, is first off, do a pilot. A pilot is what's going to give us that knowledge and information as to how we did, what did we do wrong, what did we do right, where do we change. That knowledge, acquire that knowledge, that knowledge, the knowledge curve that you need. A pilot is going to give you that. So we did a very big pilot, because 375 is not a small pilot. In most cases, that's not a pilot. But we did a big pilot in Borno. We restored 375 tractors. And the next phase is to come up with a clustered approach, right, where we cluster the country into the 6 geopolitical zones, look at the northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, and then see how we can revive agricultural value via mechanization. Because what we're doing is basically promoting mechanization.
So do you have a particular state you're looking at next?
We have multiple states calling us, so we're assessing to see which one is going to bring about the most value, not for NASENI, but for the general public, because this program goes beyond. If you look at agriculture, it's the highest employer of labor.
Good one. Thank you very much, Engineer Yadudu, for this insightful discussion. Looking forward, Dr. Gashinbaki, is MECA making any plan to expand the scope of this project?
Yeah, I think we will. They say you follow the person that knows the way. NASENI has created the pathway to this. They are the project owners. And for us as implementing partner, it's a great honor to continue to work with NASENI to see that this project goes beyond agriculture to other sectors, because it's multi-sectorial. And of course, even within agriculture, and that is one thing, like Doctor said, even if this project decides to focus on agriculture for the next 1-2 years, I think we will still make reasonable impact, because that is a very, very critical sector that contributes significantly to the economy.
And maybe just to add a little to what Doctor said, there's the issue of, apart from just the 25%, there's the issue of local job creation. Initially, Doctor mentioned fabrication. This fabrication is going to be done in-house by people within Nigeria, so it creates jobs for Nigerians. And secondly, the engineers, knowledge transfer, technology transfer that we have. So really, if you look at it, it goes beyond the cost element. It goes way deeper than the cost element, if you think about it.
Thank you very much, Engineer Yadudu and Dr. Gashinbaki, for gracing us with your presence today and for making this conversation very insightful. Like you know, it is not just saving Nigeria money, it is also ensuring that the livelihoods of Nigerians are improved. And according to the EVC, and I'm guessing also to according to what this initiative entails, this project is actually saving Nigeria trillions of naira. And I'm sure that beyond just saving Nigerians money, rural livelihoods, rural communities would be, impacted upon, and I believe that the economy would be improved by this. Thank you for joining us on the show today. I'm your host, Margaret Obo Imaji. And with me is my colleague,
Muhammad Nasir Al-Hassan is the name, and bye for now.